So just today, 343 announced that Halo Infinite is going to be delayed to 2021 by a whole year. So far this has sort of been rattled up within the community with sort of a mixage on how people are feeling. Some are believing that, everything's fine. Others think that this is really bad because, games being delayed has never been something that people are necessarily excited about. And, within my mix, this is why I am going to downright say this, and it's bold. It's something that I think that, can have a controversy, but I legitimately believe that this delay is the best decision 343 has made for the security of this game. Now, before I get into my reasons of why, we need to first describe why 343 claims that they are doing this. So, when the post came out that announced this is by Chris Lee, it says, in quote, "Today I want to share an important Halo Infinite development update with the community. We have made the difficult decision to shift our release to 2021 to ensure the team has adequate time to deliver a Halo game experience that meets our vision. The decision to shift our release is the result of multiple factors that have contributed to the development challenges, including the ongoing COVID-related impacts affecting us this year. I want to acknowledge the hard work from our team at 343 Industries, who have remained committed to making a great game and finding solutions to the development challenges. However, it is not sustainable for the well-being for our team or the overall success of the game to ship it this holiday. We know this will be disappointing to many of you, and we all share that sentiment. The passion and support of the community has shown over the years has been incredible and inspiring. We wanted nothing more than to play our game with the community this holiday. The extra time will let us finish the critical work necessary to deliver the most ambitious Halo game at the quality we know the fans expect. Thank you for your support and understanding." From Chris Lee, Studio Head, Halo Infinite. So, with that in mind, guys, that's pretty much the development that 343 claims themselves. So, why is this a good thing? Why is this the basis on, why is this something that can potentially make Halo Infinite not only just a better game, but downright salvage it? Well, the first and the most simple reason is that it makes the game ready. The thing is back when the demo first came out, I had plenty of complaints that I had with the demo, how unimpressed I was, but probably one of the biggest ones that I highlighted was the fact that with its graphics combined with a lot of glitches, texture popping, and those sort of things, the game didn't look ready. It didn't look finished. And it reflected within the demo. And that combined with how vague the information was as far as how much content was going to be in the game, and it led me to the conclusion that this game was far from ready, and that it was nowhere near at the level it needed to be in order to be an adequate game, and more importantly, to live up as a Halo game. I may not like a lot of 343's choices as far as its mechanics and designs, but I cannot deny the fact that at the end of the day, I want the same thing as new Halo fans. I want the best game that can be made. I want the best game that can be generated. And at the end of the day, that is only possible when all of the tools and the content that we expect is made and adequate. Another reason this is also beneficial is that it gives the game a lot more time to initiate community feedback. The thing is 343 was promising that every Halo game after Halo 5 would include a multiplayer beta, as that was something that was noted by the community to be one of the things that helped Halo 5's multiplayer success, but it was questionable if they were going to live up to that. This year especially, when it seemed like Halo Infinite was just right around the corner from release, with nothing coming in between. For goodness sakes, we didn't even have a multiplayer reveal yet. And so, with that in mind, And with that kind of development, what it results in now is that if 343 so chooses, and I believe it's in their best interest as a company and in Halo's best interest to do this, that they should release a multiplayer beta so they can receive community feedback and be able to tune and adequately alter the game in order to release it in the best condition possible. And more importantly, to release it in a state that the community wants. Sometimes 343 has good ideas. They have things that are great on paper, but it's hard to necessarily see if it would work out or not until it's tested by the community. And thankfully, the one thing that Halo has always been pretty good at, even within the new era, is community feedback. And it's been something that's always been helpful for 343. And I think that now with Halo Infinite being delayed, it is a perfect opportunity for them to capitalize on that and ultimately forge a game that people can be satisfied with. The next benefit, and perhaps the final one that I can think of, is that it does to a degree negate competition. And on top of that, it also gives the dev team a lot more maneuverability and flexibility within the development. When you have a game that's very strict on time and you have a lot to work on and not much time to do it, it ends up creating a lot of issues related to the development and kind of having the vision starting to become divided. Ultimately, if the game gets delayed, it's going to have the time and give the development team a lot of ability to look at every little detail and to be able to stand in a unified voice on whether or not certain things should be changed or not. I'm not saying this is automatically a guarantee benefit. In fact, none of these are. And this is where I will get to the one downside. Other than the fact that it's just sad that a Halo game coming out this year is delayed. The one downside to this is that it does raise 343's standard of quality even higher than before. You want to talk about 5 years of development, kind of creating a giant ceiling of expectations, then you can't even imagine how 6 years of development would raise that roof even higher. So now it's to the point where, again, like I said, the only legitimate downside to this decision, and here's the thing, I don't even consider this necessarily a bad thing. It's just more of a frustration that's just going to inevitably exist, is that our standards are going to be higher. We're probably going to be a lot more hypercritical, and I think the main thing is just trying not to be too hypercritical based on that. I mean, not to go on a defensive, because believe me, I normally wouldn't. But development is a timely effort. It does take long. And it's one of those things where I am more willing to forgive a lot of their shortcomings now, because at least they're self-aware. And that is the thing. I'm appreciative of the fact that despite... I mean, they could have released the game this year when it was clearly not ready. They could have done it. They could have risked it. It more than likely wouldn't have had much content. It would have probably not even been that good, especially with the free-to-play model that I kind of described in my last video. And, you know, it could have been one of those things where it could have been catastrophic. But, you know, at the end of the day, oh, by the way, my free-to-play video will be, that'll be releasing later this week, just so you know. But, you know, they could have gone that route. That would have been the easy choice. That would have been the very easy route they could have done. And they didn't. They instead took the hard choice. They took the choice that they knew would upset people that were, like, excited for the game. And they did it because legitimately it is what's fair, and that is the basis. It's not just a matter on what people like and don't like. It's what is fair for your community. What is fair for the audience that is following this game. And is it necessarily fair that they have to wait another year? Maybe not. But that is more fair than getting a product that they have waited 5 years for. A game they have waited 5 years in the making. and only for it to come up short. And so, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, you know, I've spoken for myself. Halo Infinite may come out, and it may have aspects I don't like. And you know what? I could even go so far as to say as it might not be the game for me. It might not be a game that I personally will hold a lot of enjoyment for. I might have a lot of similar issues going into that as I would with Halo 5. But you know what? If it legitimately launches as a high-quality product with a good single-player campaign that has a decent length and a lot of gameplay variety, if it launches with a multiplayer that has a lot of content and it's mechanically sound, even if it may not play the way I want it to, if it's mechanically sound and has a lot of content, and, you know, adding all that together, and it has all the community features that are needed, and has a lot of the stuff that's really enjoyable out of Halo, what kind of helps solidify its identity, then, you know, if that's what you get for just delaying the game one more year to guarantee that kind of success, then that's a worthy price to pay. And I'm not saying any of this is guaranteed. It could still come out next year and still suck egg. I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying there's no possibility. But the likelihood of it doing so now is a lot less. And a lot of my worries surrounding this game are kind of now put to rest. Because it's not even because I think all these worries have been addressed yet. It's that I know 343 is truly caring about this product. They are not going to let the game be launched in a half-a state. Instead, they're actually going to take the time to make sure that this game is the best it can be. And, you know, that's all I can ask of them at this point. You know, I may not think that this game is going to be the greatest thing since Christmas. I may not think it's going to recapture all the glory that the OG Halos did. Halo 3 especially. And, you know, it's disappointing that they still aren't willing to give that classic Halo style one last shot. It's disappointing that they still don't have the commitment to do it. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can't force 343 to make a game that doesn't align with their vision. You know? I can't. I can name a bunch of statistics all I want and a bunch of opinions on why Classic Halo would legitimately be the best route for the series and why, objectively speaking, it probably would be the most likely way to restore Halo's former glory. But that's only going to be done if it's made by a developer that believes in that style of gameplay. And if 343 just simply doesn't, if that's just legitimately something where it's not even a matter that they're scared to make it, but simply just that they don't want to make it. Because I'm literally at this stage at this point. I don't even think it's a matter that they're scared to make it, that they don't think that will work. Or even a matter that, you know, they think it's like such a horrible thing. I think they just don't want to do it at this point. I mean, what other explanation is there, despite having so many requests to it, and kind of a lot of the sentiment with Classic Halo changing over the years, because it's been more accepted now than it was prior to Halo 5's release. You know, back before Halo 5 came out, many people were just labeling, like, Classic Halo purists can't accept anything new. And the reason I know this is because I was one of those people making those accusations. I was one of those people saying to Classic Halo fans, you know, people that were even older within this community than I was. Because, you know, I first entered around Reach. So you can kind of understand how that screws with me a little, because, you know, that's sort of in the transition period between kind of the classic style games versus the modern style games that 343 made. And so, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that screwed with me. And for the longest time, I was saying how Classic Halo wouldn't work. Classic Halo wouldn't work. And then, ever since Halo 5 came out and a little bit afterwards, my sentiment changed. And I took time to really go in depth with the Classic Halos and play them and understand why they were so fun and special to people. And then looking back at it, it's one of those things where, for one, I feel stupid for having that OG opinion. But now it's one of those things where I legitimately do believe it is the best shot that Halo has. But it's only the best shot if 343 is willing to take it. Having a loaded gun is no use if the person holding it isn't willing to pull the trigger. We can hand 343 that gun. We can say that's going to be the most effective gun out of them all. But if 343 is not willing to pull that trigger, it's not going to do any good. I'll cover this more within a later video, but the point is that at the end of the day, what I want at this point, beyond anything else, is just the most idealized Halo game that 343 is capable of making under their vision. You know, it may not be the route that's best for the series overall. It may not be the best route that would recapture Halo's glory. Heck, it might not even work. It might even suck, but for a lot of people. But you know what? At least if it's the idealized version, there'll be people coming into there that will like it, that will enjoy it, and that will stay dedicated to the game. I can't guarantee that I'll be one of them. But there will be people out there that will have that kind of dedication and love and passion for the game. And especially if the game's free to play, because that is legitimately kind of one of the perks that I did state back in my free to play video, is that it makes the game far more accessible. But the whole thing is, all of this only matters if the idealized game 343 wants to make is able to launch in the best condition possible. Because at the end of the day, you can do 1,000 good things for the game. You can make 1,000 good design changes. But if your game launches and it's half-baked, and unfinished, if it's loaded with glitches and bugs and lack of content, if the campaign short, like if all these things add up and everything is with that is either incomplete or what's there is dull, then it doesn't matter how good your vision is. Your game will not be realized and people will not get attached to it. They won't love it. It'll be forgotten within a matter of weeks. So, the fact that 343, I have to say, in some capacity, must know this. And more than likely delayed the game as a result. And many people are going to say, oh, 343 just delayed it because of the negative feedback back into E3. And while this definitely probably played a factor, I don't think it's the only reason. Because at the end of the day, it's not even like the negative feedback was just a result of just people hating the game. Many people were saying the same thing. Even people that liked the demo were saying that the game didn't look finished yet. That it didn't look like it was ready to be launched. And so it's one of those things where, in hindsight, speaking from that point of view, 343 must have had some sense of self-awareness after that point. Maybe it took the community's complaints to kind of make them self-reflect a little. But it's like I said before. The community can't force them to make something that doesn't align with their vision. We can't. The only thing we can force out of them is to make the best version of that game that they can. So if we're saying as the community that we don't think this game is ready yet, that it isn't finished, 343 is probably looking back at it and going, you know what? Yeah, they're probably right. It's not. And we know for a fact that they won't accept what we already got. They won't accept the half-baked content. They won't accept a campaign that doesn't have much in it. We better take the time, iron out the bugs, get the graphics better, make the campaign more realized, and refine the multiplayer to make sure that it is loaded with content and so many things to keep the community playing. Because we need to make sure that when this game launches, that we can say with satisfaction, we made the best game that we can. And I will say the best game. I'm not even saying the best Halo game, just the best game that they can make. I'm not asking for a game that lives up to Halo 3. I'm not asking for a game that surpasses Halo 3. What I am asking for is a game that can truly live up and give the community what it deserves. Maybe not what it needs. At the end of the day, I will still stand my ground that classic Halo is what Halo needs. That is what the Halo franchise and the Halo community needs. That is legitimately my opinion. But just because you can't deliver the game that the community and the franchise needs doesn't mean you cannot release the game that they deserve. They deserve a high quality game. They deserve a game with satisfaction in every field. They deserve a game where, aside from minor problems, the only super major complaint that they should have is just, it is not the game personally for me. That I just don't, it's not personally for me. I don't personally like it that much. But when it comes down to actually tearing it apart, finding major flaws with it, they'll struggle. I know that seems like an impossible task, and in many ways it somewhat is. I'm not saying the game won't be flawed even next year. I'm not saying it won't be flawed. I'm not saying it won't have issues that will have to be ironed out within their 10-year plan, which I'll cover that in another video. But all I am saying is that if they can truly dedicate their time to make a game that is realized, they'll be secured. After all, a game that is delayed can be good eventually, but a rushed game will never have the chance to be fully realized or seen as good. This is King Orange, and I'll see you next time. Peace.